Welcome. You're listening to The Radke Show with David and Melissa Radke. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to The Radke Show. I am one Melissa Radke without my co-host today. And I don't know whether I miss him or it's wonderful. I can't decide. But David Radke is not here with us today. And it's because I am bringing you a special edition of The Radke Show with a very dear friend of mine. My girlfriend, Diana Swillinger, is here today. And we're going to talk about something that I'm not going to give anything away. Her and I are going to get into the nitty gritty of it when I bring her on. And I'm going to tell you why she's such a special person to me. But if the Radke Show is considered a family podcast or a marriage podcast, then I assure you that what we're going to be talking about today is going to hit that bullseye. We are going to discuss marriage in all of its predicaments and its difficulties, marriages when they win, marriages when they lose, marriages when they are wonderful, and marriages when they're painful. And I'm going to let her share her story her way. And so I'm really excited to hear her talk about this because she is a dear soul and a deep and thoughtful, if that's a good word for it, and trusted believer. And I have reasons for saying that, and I will tell them all to you after I bring her on. Welcome, Diana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. I feel very excited. I notice when people get on other podcasts, they're like, I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually excited today because you and I have not seen each other's faces for a while. And I do miss Dave's face. Shout out, Dave. I miss seeing you today.
He's here. He's here. He says hi. He says hi.
Well, I'm excited to be here and talk about all the things. And one thing I think is fun is that I have no idea where we're headed. And maybe you don't either. So this is going to be really fun.
Well, I did have an idea of where we were headed 2 days ago. And then I changed it this morning. And then I thought better of it this afternoon. And really, I told David's like, well, you got to have kind of like an outline. Well, not true for women necessarily. Not true when I just want to hear you tell your story. I want to give a little bit of background to our listeners today. So I met Diana in the strangest of ways. I've known her for several years now. We are not close because we do not live in close proximity to each other. And because our worlds keep us very busy and so apart and not able to talk a lot. But Diana came into my life several years ago, and I really liked her instantly. And I invited you back, Diana, to speak on one of my courses that I was offering. And I had you come in as a teacher, and you taught me something that day that has changed my life. And wow. I don't say that easily. I don't say that lightly, and I don't say it often. Okay. Do you know what it is?
I'm going to see if it comes to me while I say you had me on your summit, and I think you let me coach you.
I did.
On body image.
I did.
And I don't remember what the nugget would be that you took away. Okay. So if people are wondering, I am a life coach. I've been a certified, now a master level life coach for over 8 years now. And so you let me share wisdom with your audience through coaching you, which was so brave.
Yeah, it was. I had never done that. So I knew that Diana was a coach, a great coach, which is why I said, number one, she's a believer. So you're going to get that side of coaching. But number two, she's very you can trust her. And as I was supposed to be kind of interviewing her or letting her kind of lead the session. But I was really feeling emotional that day. And I just was like, I think I need your help. And I ended up letting her coach me live in front of all of these women. And here's what she said. I was talking about body image. I was talking about some issues that I go through in my own mind. And you said, okay, Melissa, I'm going to do a little exercise with you. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. But here's the trick of the game, Melissa. If you answer no to any of these questions,
I know what this is.
Then the game is over And you have to, like, what we're going to do is we're going to take a thought, one of your thoughts, and we're going to ask that thought 3 questions. It's kind of like a little game. And if you answer yes to the question, then we go to question number 2. And if you answer yes to question number 2, we go to question number 3. But if you answer no to any of the 3 questions, you must remove the thought. And the 3 questions are, is it true? Does it propel me forward? Does it honor God? Those are the 3 questions. And I don't.
Yes, actually, the second question I often ask it is, does it serve you? And I don't mean in a selfish way. Right. But I like how you translated it to, does it propel you forward? Is it edifying you in your life in some way? Right. And not? I have used it, and I rarely ever give you credit for it. That's okay. Not really. I actually always give you credit for it. I've used it with so many women, both in private coaching them, in courses online. I stood in front of a city council group once that was full of women and taught a lesson to them in a town and gave you credit in that town for this. That has really changed me. So for those of you who are listening today and you are saying, oh, I wonder what they're going to talk about, because man, I need to hear something about marriage today, because my marriage is it's over. It's just over. And I need to hear what they're going to say. First of all, is that true? Is it over? Like, have you signed the divorce? Is that true? And you may say, well, no, that's not true. I mean, we haven't gone that far, but nope. You answered no. You have to start at the beginning. You're going to erase that thought. Don't walk around with that thought. Oh, this marriage is over. It's never going to go anywhere. It's going to, oh, this ended several years ago. I should have just known. Or maybe you would say, yes, it is over, but does that thought serve you? Does it propel you forward? Does it make you want to be better? Does it make you want to move and progress? And I just love that little trick. I think it removes so many bad thoughts, and we then have to replace them with positive ones. I don't know. It just really served me well. That is I'm
a lesson.
Glad. I don't care. You don't have to give me credit. It's not like that was me pooling 3 questions together. I call it the litmus test to see if a thought is worth keeping. Like, let's just give it the litmus test. But yes, I use that over and over and with all the women I've coached. And it's not like, okay, wait, what was the thought? My marriage is over. It's not like you have to go, my marriage is alive. You don't have to like if that thought's not true, then I have to think the opposite. No, let's just think something that is true, that does serve you, that does honor God. And it could even be as simple as of a thought as, I'm here for today. That's a thought about having presence in your marriage. And it's true. I am here for today. We're still married and I'm here. Does it serve me? Yes, because it's giving me peace in this moment. Does it honor God? Probably, because I'm just being present with reality and I'm not pushing against it. And you'll find a completely different emotional experience when you make a little shift like that to a thought that does pass the litmus test.
Wow. Well, Diana, I want to get into what we're discussing today. And I want to bring up the fact that you are a coach. You do coach women in their darkest hour. You coach them through their darkest moments, through their thoughts. You coach them through jobs. You coach them through marriage. And yet, what happens when the coach maybe needs to be coached, or when the coach is facing new life lessons? I was talking to Diana not long after that moment where she kind of coached me there live in front of all those women. And you and I, in the privacy of our time together, you shared that you were going through a terrible, terrible time in your marriage. And I went to ask you about it, and you quickly told me you were not ready to talk about it, but there would come a day when you would share it. And you didn't.
Here's why. Let me tell you. I had you on my podcast, the Renew Your Mind podcast, to talk. I did a 2-part episode where you talked all about body image and shared your story. And it's 2 of my top listened to episodes ever because it really hits home. But before we started recording, we were just going, la, 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 talk, 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 talk. And we're like, we should record soon. I know. Talk, talk, talk. What's going on with you? And I told you, I'm actually separated and I filed for divorce. But you can't mention it in the interview because I'm not telling my audience outright that I'm going through a divorce. And then you said, this is the story I remember better. You said, when you're ready to tell your people,
I did.
could I interview you? And that was 3 years ago. So obviously the coach needs to heal too. Mm-hmm. Coach needs things to happen to be ready.
It's been 3 years? Okay.
It's been 3 years. And wow.
That's my dog playing with its toy, by the way. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I can't hear it on my end, so maybe the audience. Yeah, if the audience can't, I can't hear it, so maybe they can.
Okay, good.
And so I texted you just a couple weeks ago, and I said, Melissa, I don't even know if you'll remember this. Mm-hmm. I do. And you said, I remember. And then you invited me here.
I remembered it because one of the things that struck me is your decision to remain quiet for a period of time. That had to have been hard because you guys, not only was Diana still coaching women, she also has a thriving podcast. And here she is talking through lessons in life and in faith and in our walk with Christ and becoming a woman and our self-image and all this. While going through this, she had to stay quiet. But Diana, did you stay quiet about your marriage because you didn't want to scare people off? Or did you stay quiet about your marriage because you had an image to protect? Or did you stay quiet about your marriage because you were wounded?
Wow. Yes. 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 Okay. So I am a coach who people consider to be extremely confident. And I do sometimes consider what will people think about me. Even now, I just told a friend that I was doing this interview with you, and I'm going to share it on, you're going to give me the audio, and it's going to land on the Renew Your Mind podcast. Mm-hmm. And I thought there might be some people who stop listening. And then my friend said, that's okay. If they stop listening, they're not your people. The people who need what you offer and appreciate where you're coming from and can hold space for you being a human being with a human life, they'll stick with you. So I was concerned a little bit about the image. Did I need to do healing? Yes, I need to do a lot of healing. Again, I'm a coach. That doesn't mean I go through something difficult and then I have all the tools, therefore healing happens fast. It's still the same process. I have tools that make it easier and I can be more involved and they can lighten some of the load and maybe some parts go faster and there's more salve to put on the wounds. But yeah, it's still painful. What was the other one? That was image and healing.
Yeah. Did you have an image to protect? Did you feel like you need healing? I don't remember what the first one was, but essentially you said yes, yes, and yes. I mean,
it was similar. It was similar to that, maybe being concerned what other people would think. Mm-hmm. And I still kind of am, and yet I'm not. And then the other thing about my audience, none of them are surprised if they end up in a coaching call with me and I mention, well, with blah, blah, blah. And my ex-husband, I had an experience similar to yours. And nobody's like, wait, what? You're divorced? I think you can't help it. I've got however many hundreds of episodes and people can pick up on what's going on. They're,
right. Yeah.
So I really think people have been on this journey with me the whole time and they have seen me heal in real time and they haven't rejected me. I just didn't come and say it outright. But I think there is something about saying it outright. I'm divorced. I'm a Christian woman who wanted to be married for my entire life and grow old with my husband and sit on the porch and read the newspaper and see the grandkids pull up. And that's not happening. Mm-hmm. And I had the message that God hates divorce. Mm-hmm. And so while I worked on that, and we can talk about that if you want to, I don't think God hates divorce in the way we often think that message means. But I thought people are going to think I'm doing it wrong. People might be disappointed. People might lose hope in their own life, but I don't think that's my story. My story is a story of hope. It's not a story of a loss of hope. Okay, I'm just going to jump into this because you opened with the litmus test for marriage. And the day I knew that my marriage was dead, that's the thought I had. My marriage is dead. I put it through the litmus test.
You did.
I asked myself, my marriage is dead. Is it true? And my answer was yes. My marriage is dead. Does this thought serve me? Yes, it does. Because I can't grow here anymore. I can't become all that God has me to become here because of circumstances that were still happening in my marriage. For me to be all God's made me to be and serve the people he wants me to serve. I guess I'm answering the third, does it honor God? Does it serve me? Yes. It's freeing me to be all God created me to be. Does it honor God? I answered yes. People can argue with me if they want.
And I think people will argue with that, but I don't argue with that. I stand.
I'll tell you why.
Diana, you just walked the most painful thing in your entire life, and you are on the other side of it, preaching about the faithfulness of God, how he has remained steadfast with you. If that story is not honoring God, if our painful stories, if our scars don't honor God, then what are we doing? Because I think that they do. So does that honor God? Yes, I do believe that there will be people out there who will say, oh, no, that's not what we believe in my church.
Right.
But let's talk about that. I mean, that needs to be talked about today. And I told David that. I said, David, one of the things that I want to discuss is how we can make sense of this with our religious backgrounds and our belief. And so I love hearing you do the litmus test on that. It's painful for me to hear when you say, does this thought serve me that my marriage is dead? Yeah, it does serve me. That's pain. That hurts me to hear that you had to answer that. This episode is being brought to you by my new book, Chicken Fried Women, Friendship, Kinship, and the Women Who Made Us This Way. Have you ever known any strong, Southern, smart aleck, sassy, opinionated women? You do? You know my family. You can find this book anywhere books are sold. Amazon, grab it today. You'll love it. Now, back to the show. But let's back up for a little bit. Tell me about when you got married. Tell me about what you saw with the future that you saw with this man. Tell me, do you have children? Talk to me about where you were.
Yeah. Well, this was a boy who lived down the street from me, who then moved away. I live in Wisconsin, and he moved away to California and then Oregon, but he came back to visit a childhood friend who lived down the street from me. Mm-hmm. And so as it so happened, we came in contact as teenagers when he was back in Wisconsin. And we started an on and off long distance teenage romance. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was 18 years old, I just wanted to be with him. I went out and spent the summer in Oregon with him and his family. And then he moved back to Wisconsin. He was 20 years old and he got a job here. And a couple years later, we got married. And we were so young. I just thought, we're going to grow together. We're going to develop careers. We're going to build a life. We're going to learn. Good things are going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the first several years, we didn't have kids, and it was good a lot. And sometimes, if I look back on it, Melissa, I looked back on some journals and stuff from the beginning of my marriage, and I was like, oh, things I know now, I would look back and be like, that was something to be concerned about.
Wow.
But I didn't know that because I was so young. And I just thought, things like me taking emotional responsibility for all of the arguments or things, me always apologizing. That's on me. I got too strong because I'm strong. And he'd say, you're so strong. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm bulldozing him again. It's all on me. And so I learned in the beginning of the marriage to take on all the emotional load of our marriage. But I didn't know I was doing this, and I didn't know it was a problem. Mm-hmm. And we had money troubles. I was out at a job trying to make money, and my husband had a business that was struggling. And then we had a baby, and we had to sell our house because I wanted to stay home and the business was struggling. Mm-hmm. And then we had another baby. And I'm hedging because this is a public podcast, and it's going to be on my podcast, and my kids may hear it one day. And I do care about honoring everyone that was involved. Yeah. So I'll try to say this thoughtfully. But once my second child was born, things that were more like I'll use the word covert and overt. So
Okay.
problems that seemed covert, like hidden problems, existed before my second child was born. Like hard to detect. Is that a problem? Am I confused here? What's going on? I'm not sure. Then after my son was born, a lot of the communication dynamics and issues in our marriage became overt. It was obvious. I was dealing with my husband's anger and word choice as we would communicate about, you know what, Melissa, I was in for it. I'm like, we're going to grow. You know, you're not making much money and we're on food stamps and renter's assistance as your business struggles and you're angry a lot. But you know what? We're going to get through this and I'm going to love you like a good Christian woman. I'm going to love you no matter
y'all were
what.
believers at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The whole time.
Okay.
He was new. And since I was 4 years old in my bedroom all by myself, I'm like, Jesus, come live in my heart. And then when he moved to Wisconsin and he was influenced by my stepdad, who is a pastor and stuff, and he accepted Jesus, went to Promise Keepers, started going to church, and then we got married.
Okay.
So, and then we had another kid. And then my sister died of leukemia. And so it's just starting to turn into a big cluster of stuff that I'm trying to piece through. We've got financial troubles. We're on assistance and you're angry. And my sister died, my best friend.
Are you still at this point taking emotional responsibility for everything, saying I'm sorry for everything?
Yes and no. Yes. And saying, and you need to own this. So I would still this was my part. I own all that. I might not, I was starting to have some boundaries on what I would and wouldn't own, but I'd still always own mine. And I just didn't get that back. It wasn't reciprocal. Like a healthy marriage, I know now, well, and I knew then too, if I was just waiting. A healthy marriage is, okay, we had a thing. Here's what I brought to the table and I'm sorry. And then the other spouse says, thank you. I received that. And here's what I brought to the table. And I'm sorry. And then the other, and we've got a reciprocal thing happening. So it wasn't reciprocal. I was like, every time, because that was my character. Here's what I brought. Here's where I fell short. Here's where I lost it. And I'm sorry. And he'd say, thank you.
I want to go back to the covert and overt.
Yeah.
Because covert says to me, these things are happening and I'm just denying them. I am looking reality in the eye and denying it. Is that what you mean by covert?
No, I mean, like, let's say you have a friend who just sometimes makes some little backhanded comments, but they can all be guised in, oh no, I was just, I just said, oh, did you get your hair cut? And then I'm like, yeah, but there's something about the way that you said that. She's like, no, I was just asking if you got your hair cut. That's
all you got to say. I get that. As a wife, I get it. As a woman, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. My second question for overt makes me think that there were a lot of dynamics at play in the house that maybe the kids saw, that the kids heard, that the kids were watching. Is that
yes.
true?
Totally. Yes. So anger that would continue even if I left the room and the kids would hear it or in front of them or projecting, blaming. Again, I said you can ask me absolutely anything and I will temper my words. And I do. I think I'm exposing enough for people to understand and make connections to their own life.
Yeah.
And I just gave you some clue words there. You can look them up. And then I want to honor that space where I don't need to put it all out there. So it got tough and I was hearing a lot and I was trying to forgive and reconcile and fix and Band-Aid and get help from people at church, get a church mentor, where it's like, okay, let's write on pieces of paper things you like about the other person, fold them up and put them in the little box. And then on every Saturday, you're going to get them out and share them with each other. And that'll help.
Yep. I've done those
Yeah,
object lessons before. Yeah.
And I'm like, why is my box of stuff I like about him like full and there's 2 in mine? What's going on?
Oh, yeah. Now, what ages were the kids at this point when all of this was going on?
Well, so I have 4 kids, and when things turned overt, so there was vocal dysfunction happening in the home. That's with son number 2. And then by the time, actually when my sister when my sister died of leukemia, I started coping with alcohol. And so now I'm really adding stuff to the mix too. Okay. So and what we often do, us women, men might too, but women, I think especially, we got it really good. If we've got something coming at us, we react.
Yeah.
So I would have heated reactions. I was turning to alcohol, and when my boys were little, 5, 3, and 1. And then when they're, 9, 7, and 5, still going on. And then when they're 10, 8, and 6, and my little daughter was born, surprise. We were done. I was 36, and God's like, no, you get a girl. I was like, what? She's a treasure of my life. Total treasure. And it was about a year and a half after she was born that I broke up with vodka, which is just my way of saying I quit drinking. But I call it I broke up with vodka, and I have a blog post on it because I took a full bottle of vodka. I had 2 shots, and then I was like, that's it. I'm done. God, you give me strength. I will never touch alcohol again. And I took that vodka bottle out to the backyard and dumped it out. And this was on a day where it was a Friday afternoon, and my husband was about to come home from work. And I'm like, gotta get ready.
Yeah.
Have a couple shots. He came in, and we were arguing within 5 minutes. And I was like, internally, I cannot do this anymore. This can't be my life anymore. We've got the dysfunction that's been going on for, let's say it was 8, 9 years at that point, since it had gone what I call overt. And I'm drinking to cope, and my kids are, if they don't get it yet, the oldest was 11. They don't get it yet. They're in a year, they're going to know.
Oh, they're about to. Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is it. That was a huge pivot. Now I was still, not even 2/3 through the life of my marriage at this point, but something snapped, and I'm like, I am done. And if I feel pain for the rest of my life, bring it on. Because when I dump out this bottle of vodka and I never touch a drink again, I'm going to have physical pain, because I knew other times I stopped drinking, I had like flu-like symptoms. So was I an alcoholic? I don't know, but I needed to withdraw. So whatever that means. And I knew I was going to have a truckload of emotional pain, things I hadn't dealt with from my sister dying. I dealt with some of it, but not all of it. And all the pain of my current marriage, that was a bleep show. And I said, I'm doing it. I'm feeling pain.
I'm going to feel everything.
I'm going to feel it all. I will not numb any of it out. And this is the path to being healed. I know it, and I am in. That's when everything changed for me. And that'll be 15 years, October 2025.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? So obviously you guys that are listening today get the correlation, right? Of that moment of saying, this has been a numbing alcohol. This has been a, morphine. I've been taking pumps of morphine essentially every time I took a shot. That's what that was. That was morphine to keep me from feeling what I am in the middle of. And when she throws that away, she really, truly does. Diana, you show us how strong you made a comment a minute ago. I'm a strong woman. And I felt like I kept apologizing for that through much of my marriage. And that's so strong to say, no, I'm going to walk around with these open wounds all over me. And it's really brave. I want to ask before we go any further, during that, my pastor says something that I've always thought was so funny. He has made this comment several times. He says, when it comes to alcohol, I have never sat down with a married couple or a single person ever who said, Pastor, things were really going rough in our marriage. It was tough. We were barely hanging on. But then we added alcohol and everything got better. Like, that's never the story, right?
Never.
So I totally see why, even as a believer, you turn to alcohol, anything to take the edge off. But talk to me about that day, that Friday, right before he came home, and you threw that bottle away in the backyard, you poured it out. Where were you spiritually? See, I would think that there would be women listening today to you tell this story, and they would maybe be saying, well, so far you kind of sound like me, but I'm pissed at God. Like, I'm just hacked about this. I'm hacked off. I'm angry. I don't have any relationship with God right now because, are you kidding me? So where were you in your spiritual walk?
Well, let me back it up then to when my sister died, and I had 2 boys at the time when she died, so 2 of my 4 kids, and I was hacked off, to use your Southern words, ladies. I was hacked off. I never say that, but today I do.
It feels right.
It does. And I decided to say hacked off I was going to stay that way for as long as I wanted. Yeah. And I was a worship leader.
Oh, wow.
And I would pick songs that would talk about God's sovereignty, because I knew he had power. I knew he had control, but I stayed away from songs that talked about how gentle and loving he was, because my sister died, and that's not right. She should be here. And I'm hacked off. And then after about 2.5 years of that, I felt this grief and longing. And I had a day where I was standing in my kitchen again. It all happens in the kitchen, ladies. And I said, I miss you. I was talking to God, not about my sister. I miss you. And I need to stop being angry at you if I'm going to have you back, because I was holding him 5 arms length, real far. And so I started working on that. And what I decided to do is, every time my sister came up in my mind and I'd be like, oh, I miss her, and I'd feel all this grief. And then I'd be like, oh, so mad. Instead of letting myself go to, and I'm changing a thought. This is my specialty as a coach. And I wasn't even a coach yet. I'm changing my thought. Instead of thinking I'm so mad, I'm going to thank God. I had my sister for 30 years. What a treasure. Funny, I call my daughter a treasure now too. And she's named after my sister. What a treasure. Thank you. Thank you for 30 years with Sherry. It could have been 5. It could have been 10. It could have been 20. You gave me 30. Thank you. And I did that day after day after day until my anger started to melt away. So by the time I dumped out vodka, God and I was all in. I'm like desperately seeking him. I'm like, God, please make this pain go away. Please help my husband. Please help me stop drinking. Because I had that last time when I actually quit, I had quit a week before.
Sure. Yeah.
And I made it 7 days, or it was like a week and a half before. I made it 7 days, and I was like, oh, thank you, God. I'm good. Now I can have a glass of wine. And I went right back in.
Sure. Of course.
So I was good. I was good with him at that point. I was like, I don't understand all this pain, and I am in so much pain, and I'm a songwriter, and I go back and look at the songs I wrote back then. Wow. Lament, lament, pain, pain, pain. But I was in with him. So I knew that he was going to carry me.
I don't know if that's the coach in you that decided every time I want to be angry and I want to lash out, I will instead thank him. I don't know if that's the coach in you that inspired you to do that. Just, it was always there. It was always a part of your DNA. But that doesn't sound easy. It doesn't sound easy, because essentially, Diana, what you're saying is, I will thank him for Sherry, and I will thank him for 30 years, even though I am drowning in my marriage. So when my head comes out above water and I am barely able to catch a breath, I will thank you, Lord. That seems impossible to me. But I'm so proud of you for doing that. That is such a testament to you and the God in you. So you pour out the vodka in the backyard. Start there.
Well, I think I've talked about it this way before. It's like, and then nothing changed. Except now I had nothing to pacify myself with.
Nothing to numb.
My life was the same. And instead of numbing myself, I felt the pain. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But it was I knew the path forward couldn't involve getting drunk or even pacifying with a glass or two of wine. It couldn't. It wasn't working. You know, we can always ask ourselves, okay, how's this working for me? Like you said, with the marriage counseling, oh, everything was bad. Then we introduced alcohol and it was great. No, said no one ever. How's this working for you? But we can ask the same thing. How's it working for you to be angry at God? How's that working for you? It's not. How's it working for you to, hide away in your closet and not face your troubles? It's not. I mean, sometimes we need to do that to get through a moment, and I did that plenty of times. Let me tell you, go in the walk-in closet, light off, hide in there. But eventually, if you want something to change, you're going to have to do something different, and it's not going to be easy. But this is how I talk to my clients. I'm like, listen, you can stay where you're at now, and you're going to be in pain. Or you can move forward on this path to change things, and you're going to feel pain.
That's right.
But on this path going forward and challenging yourself and trying something different and growing and wanting to be more Christ-like and evolving emotionally and spiritually and becoming more wise and more mature. On the other side of that path, there is hope over there. There's relief over there. There's healing over there. Both paths have pain, but one has hope at the end of it. So
I love that.
I'm choosing that one.
I love it. You're not going to get through life unscathed. You're just not. You're not going to get through this life battered, bruised, and scarred up. Pain is going to happen. But are we going to choose that fork? When it comes to the fork in the road, I want to choose hope. I want to choose restoration. And that is only with Jesus. I want to know, as these years went on, because if I'm trying to do some math here, think about babies and their ages and all this that you've said. Seems to me like after you poured that vodka out, you still had quite a ways to go in your marriage. You still hung on for a while.
I did. So, I had more than 10 years to go.
Oh, wow. What were you, for lack of a better word, I'm so sorry. And I hope you don't think this is rude, but from one friend to another, what were you thinking?
I'm a stubborn son of a gun, Melissa.
You are.
I was thinking.
Were you okay, let me ask you this. Diana, I was raised to believe that we have no reason to divorce unless we are in physical pain, like he is abusing us, or he has chosen to live and love and sex outside of the marriage. That's what I was raised to believe. I wasn't raised to I never heard the phrase emotional abuse. Verbal abuse. I only knew physical abuse. I'm an 80s kid, right? So what were you? Did he do those things to you? Did he hurt you?
I didn't know that.
Did you have right? In your mind, were you thinking, I don't have a right to leave? Is that why you stayed?
Oh, yes. Yes. I see what you're getting at. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. And I'm in it. I love him. I did. Did my love change at some point? Yeah. But at this point, when I dumped out the vodka, I was still all in. I'm like, he's my man. I love him. We're going to figure this out. Something's going to switch one day. Oh, when he heard that sermon, I'm looking over at him. I'm like, oh, not that
this for you. This was for you. I hope you're paying attention. Yeah. I hope you're paying attention.
Like, this is going to change his heart. This is so good. this marriage book, or when he meets with that guy and you're that mentor, that accountability partner, something's going to change. Forever, Christians, we hope a lot. I have a lot of hope. There's actually an emotional abuse advocate named Patrick Doyle that calls this hopium. He says if you're in an emotionally abusive marriage and you have hope upon hope upon hope, you're injecting yourself with hopium.
Hopium. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what you were doing.
I was. And, we're taught to believe that God can do absolutely anything. He can change the way this man's operating.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot, though, I think we forget a lot, that people still have free will. Like God can change us when we invite him in and we participate in the change. That is my belief. I don't believe God changes anyone who didn't ask for it.
That's
because
right.
he gave them free will. If he changed them without them asking for it, now he's usurping their free will. He's yet to do that. So I still thought, though, if I did the Power of a Praying Wife enough and watched the Love Dare and did the Love Dare and read Love and Respect, a lot of these books considered garbage now, by the way. If you listen to the Bare Marriage podcast with Sheila Ray Gregoire, she takes a very theological approach and talks to a lot of theologians about some of these Christian marriage books. Mm-hmm. Putting that out there. If you want to see if these books pass a litmus test in a clinical study of psychology and how this all plays, some of these books that we've clung to don't pass a litmus test for being theologically sound and centered on Jesus' teaching and a lot of things. A lot of them are just authors. Yes. Something we don't know. And I didn't know.
We don't know. In my word, every book you've just said is sitting in my closet. Because I've been you before. David will attest to that. I mean, we've been through that. So it's every book is in my closet. And this is what we were taught to believe.
But David's working on himself. David changes, David grows. That's a difference. Mm-hmm. But if you're reading those books and you're in a marriage where the other person isn't doing their own emotional work, they're not trying to become a better partner, they're not taking full ownership for their side, those books will also keep someone staying in a marriage that I advocate for marriage, but sometimes it's okay to walk away. The biggest wrestle exactly I had to do in my life. And those books kept me there.
And I pray that any woman who is listening to this hears that. Don't hear what she's not saying. Okay.
Yes.
Diana is not, she is for marriage. She is an advocate for marriage. She loves marriage. She is not saying, I'm of the belief that if it gets rough, girl, that is not what she's saying. She's fought for years. I hear you, Diana. I feel you, sister. So,
but I'm also saying if you are in a marriage where there's pathological behavior that is damaging, pathological in the psychology word means it happens repeatedly. There's some pattern. It's pathological. Even if you get a break for a month, but then it comes back, and you get a break for 2 weeks and then it comes back, and you get a break for a day and then it comes back. It keeps coming back. It's pathological. I'm an advocate for women who are in relationships that are either emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive, sexually abusive, financially abusive, or spiritually abusive. I'm an advocate for you if you are in a pathological situation like that, to see what you can do to take care of you, to find ways for you to heal, to find ways for you to be healthy, and to take care of you, because I promise you, God loves you more than he loves the institution of marriage.
Wow,
even
that
if
is
he
so
hates,
true.
Yes, even if he hates divorce because it is a breaking of something that was supposed to be beautiful and he intended to be beautiful, and he rightfully hates it because that is a painful thing, he does not advocate for that institution to last at your expense. And so I did everything I could. This is the other reason I stayed. I thought, I'm going to do absolutely everything I can now that I'm sober to heal and become the healthiest, most God-honoring version of me that I can be. And if my husband sees that and comes along, we can make something of this. If he doesn't see it and he doesn't come along, well, I didn't really think of that at the time. But what happened is he didn't come along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave it another 10 years.
Yeah.
And then what was the breaking point?
Well, I almost left 6 years before I actually left. I saw a divorce attorney twice, once by myself and once with my dad, because I was terrified. And I was going to file for legal separation, not even divorce, just legal separation, so I could get a break. And I needed a break because I was worn down. And I told my husband with the help of mentors from church. And then with continued money trouble, our electricity had been shut off. Like a day or two after I told him I was going to file for legal separation, I was getting my papers together. I was going to go in, and the electricity got cut off, and we owed $800 to get it turned back on. And we need, refrigerator and air conditioning and all the things. So I took the money I had set aside to hire an attorney, and I paid the electric bill. And I thought, well, now I got to wait. I don't know if there's only one person I'd ask for money. It's my dad. He's on a tour of the Rhine River in Europe for 3 weeks. So I will wait. Mm-hmm. And in that time, my husband stopped drinking, stopped yelling, and got a full-time job because he had a failing business at the time. And I thought, wow, this could be it.
Yeah, of course.
But I didn't believe it. Totally. So I said, you know what? In light of this new information, I will not file for legal separation, but we're going to be separated and live in the same house. I will talk to you about kids and finances and any logistics about the house or kids' finances and whatever, schedules, soccer, all that, and nothing else. And everything was pretty good for a year. And so I said, all right.
Oh, wow, for a year.
Oh, wow. For a year.
Yeah.
For a year. I waited a year. I said I was going to wait at least 6 months. And then I was like, I don't know. Something in me was like, and I could maybe trust my intuition or with the Holy Spirit. And yet I really believed in trying to save my marriage. And so I said, okay, let's give it a try. And within a week, he reverted back to all of his destructive behaviors, all of them. And then I found out my dad's prostate cancer had returned. And I thought, I can't do both things now. I can't figure out the marriage. And I'm the only daughter living in town, in the state. Everyone else is out of state, far away. I need to think about my dad. And then there I was. But I kept working on me. In fact, when my dad died 2 years later, that's when I went on a little quest to decide because I had been doing nonprofit work and loving it, but I'm like, it's time for me to do something different. And I think I want to go into business for myself. And I met my mentor, who's a speaking coach that I met him in real life, and he talked to me about starting my own business. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm going to be a life coach. Mm-hmm. And so here I was in this precarious marriage. Sometimes it was better. So all the behaviors came back, but many of them were on a lower scale or happened less frequently. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's still hope. He's not as bad as he was. I'm going to become a life coach and everything's going to get better. But it didn't.
Diana, but looking back, did he really get better or did you just get stronger? Did he really fix things or did you just get healthier?
I changed the dance, girl. We weren't dancing the same dance.
You weren't.
I changed the dance. And his behavior, the dance steps changed and his dance steps changed to match mine. So his behavior, there was still, my kids know this one, drinking. Drinking was a problem. So he just hid it. He went to the bars after work and told me he was working overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The anger was still there. He just didn't yell as much. The stuff that had been overt, like you can't talk to me that way, went back to overt. Wow. So it felt so much better. It was easier. It wasn't as in my face. The dance had changed. But I just kept working on me.
The dance had changed, but it was still a dysfunctional dance.
It was. It was, yeah. But you had one person like, I'm going to do the steps right. I'm going to do them right. And the other person's just kind of like, fine, I guess I'm going to adjust a little again. Let me see how I can still dance kind of the way I want to, but not be, make this work so you don't go, because I want to keep dancing.
So your dad is diagnosed. His prostate cancer comes back. You decide, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to give. I can't juggle these two balls. I can't spin these two plates anymore in the air. So what did you decide to do?
Well, so that was 6 years before I left the marriage. And I was like, I'm going to work my job and I'm going to be present with my dad. And that's it. And some marriage, the marriage limped along. Okay. Let me still try to show, because I said I was back in. When I told him I was back in, even though his behaviors reverted, I was like, well, I said I was back in. So I'm a woman of my word. Mm-hmm. So now I've got to be back in unless I want to go back out again. I took these decisions very, very seriously. So we kind of limped along, patchworking stuff. And it was still a dysfunctional marriage, but it wasn't as bad as it had been. I focused on my dad. My dad passed away. I became a life coach. And I'm like, now I'm really elevating.
That's right.
All these skills that I teach people, I'm doing them all on myself. And everyone around me was like, oh my gosh, all your changes, Diana, I can see you carry yourself different. You have all this wisdom. You're so encouraging. You've got some of your light back. And I was like, I'm great. I'm doing it. And if he's going to come along, he's going to come along. And I'm like, oh, now this happened. This old behavior happened. Now what do I do? Well, that all the way back to the beginning of the podcast, when we said this marriage is over, I never thought this marriage is over. I thought, I choose to stay married today. Uh-huh. Another coach gave me that, a marriage coach. She's like, every day you're actually choosing to stay married. And I'm like, I am. I'm choosing to stay married today. He's under the influence again. I'm here. I choose to stay married. Tomorrow, I might make a different choice. That's right. I can worry about that when tomorrow comes. But today, I'm here. And I just kept doing that and doing that and doing that until the one day I had that thought, I think the marriage is dead. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to stay married today. It was crazy. So I think in some ways, it's hard for me to articulate, but I was on this growth trajectory. And it just finally got to the point where it's like, I don't know, spiritually, everything just kind of broke apart or something. I don't know. And then I just noticed it. Like a friend told me okay, you called the time of death, Diana.
Say that again. Your friend told you what?
You just called the time of death.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it.
I as I'm listening to this story and I'm envisioning it play out, it just is so clear to me that you got healthy, that you began to do the work. You offered, you begged, you pleaded, you borrowed for him to come along and do the work. He wasn't going to do the work. He didn't want to do the work, but you did the work. And the work paid off because one day you woke up and decided this marriage is dead. And come on, you'd thought that before. You'd had that thought before. You wanted to get out of this before. But on that day, you knew what to do with that thought. You knew to call the time of death. You knew to do the litmus test. You knew that you had made something of yourself and you would be okay. Right?
Except I never had the thought this marriage is dead until that day.
Until that day.
I had the thought until that day. I had the thoughts before where I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Right. Okay.
That was my thought. Yeah. But on that
How
day,
old
I
were
was
your
like,
children?
let's see.
On the day the marriage was declared dead, we talking teenagers here?
This was, yeah, except my youngest. So 18, 20, 22, and 12. So my little girl was 12 and the boys were 18, 20, 22.
So they'd seen this. They'd seen this for many years.
Yeah. How about this? None of my kids came and asked me, I don't understand why you're getting divorced. Please tell me. None of them.
That's a profound statement right there in more ways than one, right? Were you ever one of those women? Were you ever one of those women who said or thought, I'm staying for the children?
No, not me. I understand a lot of people would. Not me. I often, because I got to a point in my household where I was like, kids, I'm leaving the room. I invite you to leave the room with me because this isn't okay. And I wanted to, and I think this came with quitting drinking and deciding, like my kids are watching. So I started becoming very aware of what they were seeing. And I didn't want my boys to see or think, it's okay for a man to treat a woman this way. Look, they stay. It's fine. At least, they stay in the room, so it must be fine. So at least I was showing them, no, I get out of the room. Mm-hmm. And by the time I left, I was like, hey, listen, you're going to treat your spouse this way. She's probably going to leave at one day. Might take a few years. Could take almost 3 decades, but they will.
Yeah.
I wanted them to see that and know that. And you better believe I want my daughter to know. And she knows I tolerated it too long for my taste. She knows that. And I pray that she goes forward and never tolerates it ever. Mm-hmm. Christian or not. Because God does not appreciate when we treat each other in certain ways. He grieves that.
What has happened since that separation and then officially, and then, of course, divorce? What has happened with him? What has happened with you? Walk us through that.
Well, I liked the idea of differentiating from him and getting rid of any entanglement that was left. So I largely stay out of his business. I'm not curious about him at all. Though my kids will say things like, Dad's doing great. Dad doesn't drink anymore. He doesn't yell as much. He's doing so many things better. We're really proud of him. And I'm like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I don't know a lot about what life is like for him. And he's an adult that I'm not married to, and he's not my family anymore. And I entrust him to God. Mm. So I did Melissa, I waited until it was dead. So that was a clean break. But my kids also say, both of you are doing so much better.
Really?
So, yes. So what's real for him? I don't know. But let me tell you, even my friends, they're like, wow, the light in your eyes. Wow, your smile, your humor's back. I used to be a songwriter. My songwriting has come back.
Wow.
I used to, want to travel, and I stopped wanting to travel. And that's come back. And I'm about to book a solo trip to Mexico.
Wow.
And they see this, my kids and the people around me. And this is why, does God hate divorce? Yeah, but God loves me more. And he loves how I am, as my friend calls it, becoming. I'm becoming more of all the DNA he put in me to be like, if I could just make this wonderful, expansive Diana, what would that look like? And all those pieces are in me. And they're ping, ping, ping. They're coming back to life because I had depression. I had anxiety. I had CPTSD symptoms.
Wow.
Not officially diagnosed on any of those, but, I'm a life coach and I dive deep into psychology, and I've got the DSM-5 book that has all the psychology diagnoses and stuff. I geek out on this stuff. So I think my diagnosis is probably pretty good, though you're not supposed to self-diagnose yourself. But all that stuff is better. I don't get depressed. I have sadness and grief, but I don't have depression. Do I have moments where I feel a little anxious because of something? Sure, but I don't have daily anxiety.
And I bet
And
you'd take that. I bet you'd take those little moments than a lifetime of sadness and a lifetime of who you were.
Yes. And how God can use me now is way more expansive than how he used me before.
Have you ever run into any obstacles in the church body, in the Americanized church institution, right? With people saying, but you didn't. Oh, well, you should have. Oh, but if I had been you, I would have. Have you ever run into that?
I haven't, but if I did, the answer would be, girl, I stayed for 30 years. Trust me, I did it all. And I called my marriage counselor before I told my husband that I wanted a divorce. And I said, I think the marriage is over. Unless I just stick my head in the sand and pretend it's over. And he said, Diana, have you done everything that you could do? Have you left no stone unturned? And I went quiet because I literally started going back. I'm like, okay, 1994, what did I do? 96, 98 to 2005. I'm going through things in my mind. It felt like forever. It's probably only like 10 seconds. He said, okay, you don't have to literally catalog it all. You did everything, because he had been my marriage counselor for 10 years. He said, you did everything. So I could tell that to people if I want to, but I'm also a coach in a program for women who are in emotionally and spiritually abusive marriages. Mm-hmm. And some of them have gotten divorced, and many of them have faced things like excommunication, friends challenging them and telling them they're doing it wrong. They should stay. They should try this. They should try that. They didn't work hard enough at it. They hear it all. I'm fortunate, and I think this is part of my personality. I like to surround myself with real people, authentic people who care about a person, not about, are we doing all the traditions right? Are we following the culture right? So I've been good with that. And my church has people that get this stuff. And even my church mentor, she's the pastor of adult development there, totally supportive when I said, and now I'm divorcing. She was like, Diana, it's time, because she'd been through it with me. She's like, it's time. So I got confirmation from my Christian marriage counselor and my Christian pastor mentor. And that is rare in the circles I run in, but I know it does happen in a lot of places.
Which has to just be beautiful little, my mother calls them God winks, but just this moment of confirmation, right? For your spirit, just that, oh, okay. That has to just feel good to you. Not that you live your life for people's confirmation, but isn't it nice when we're in these uncertain times, When
you're making one of the biggest decisions of your life that's going to change the structure of your family, to have somebody say, I've seen you go through it all these years, and I affirm your decision to end your marriage is, I guess all I can say is it's mind blowing. I was dumbfounded and grateful.
Yeah. I'm not saying you never did anything wrong. Looking back, I know you would say the same thing. You made mistakes. You weren't perfect.
Yeah. I have a song song lyrics. When I finally got my songwriting back, it was, I played my part, is the song lyric. I joined in the mess. I played my part. I joined in the mess. But then the song goes on to also taking responsibility for my healing. Said, I doubled down. First, I doubled down. The song lyrics, I don't have in front of me, but I doubled down and tried to make things right.
Yeah.
First, I fixed me. I put up a good fight. And then the song goes on and it says, and then I doubled down on taking care of me.
Yeah.
And then clouds turn to clear skies and I'm flying free. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I was just going to say, I'm not saying you never did anything wrong, but as your friend, you did a hell of a lot right. You really
my gosh. I interrupted you. I didn't even get to hear that. Thank you for coming back to it and telling me.
No. Oh gosh. No, I'm so proud that I'm just really proud of the day that you turned a corner and said, man, I wish you'd come with me, but if not, I'm going places. I'm doing something. I'm
Yeah.
changing here. This episode is being brought to you by my new book, Chicken Fried Women, Friendship, Kinship, and the Women Who Made Us This Way. Have you ever known any strong, Southern, smart aleck, sassy, opinionated women? You do? You know my family. You can find this book anywhere books are sold. Amazon, grab it today. You'll love it. Now, back to the show. I want to ask you this as we come to a close. You're sitting and you're talking to a woman. You're coaching her. How do you figure out as a coach whether to coach her to stay and to fight or to go? How do you coach that now? Because the grass is greener. It hurt like heck to get there, but the grass is greener for you. So how do you coach through that? How do you coach through a girl who's having a difficult time in her marriage? I mean, let's be honest. What would you have said to me 13 years ago when I contacted a divorce attorney and David Radke did? You know, as I was sitting listening to you, Diana, I literally found myself in my spirit saying, thank you, Jesus, because we both wanted it to work and we both fought, and he did hard work and I did hard work. And it did work for us. It did turn around for us. We thank you, Jesus, that we were both just stubborn enough to fight, you know, even when we wanted to throw our hands in the air. I'm so glad that your story is your story and it's beautiful and it's going to bless women, but I'm so glad my story is mine. But if I had sat down in front of you, what would you say? Because you've seen both sides now.
Well, as a coach, I believe I am not the expert in anyone's life. The person in front of me is the expert in their own life. So I don't have the answers for them. I wouldn't have had an answer for you. Should you go forward with a divorce or should you stay and fight? I wouldn't have had the answer. I would have asked you a lot of questions. I would have said, this isn't easy. I would ask a lot about what's going on, but like, where are you at? What do you want? If a woman in front of me ever says, I want to stay married, I'm like, great. And even when I know, I've coached women who there's verbal and emotional abuse sometimes. If there's physical and sexual abuse, those are the two where I will refer them to domestic violence centers. And then that whatever advice they get there is out of my hands, but they need some experts for that. But I'll ask them, have you ever been physically hurt? Okay, so no. Then what do you want? You want to stay? Great. Let me help you wrap your mind around what you need so you can grow and be strong and bring your best self to the equation. And if back then, Melissa, you said, I'm done. I just can't. I know I am done. I would say, I hear what you're saying. What do you think your next step is? How can I help you? Because I don't know. If I'm on a call with you, even if you told me stuff about Dave, I don't know what's true in your marriage. Right now, all the stuff I'm telling you, you all don't know what's actually what it was like to be in my marriage. You don't have no idea. Mm-hmm. So even those of you who are listening are thinking, I don't know, that doesn't sound too bad. Though all the different types of abuse that I listed out for you, I have experienced all of them. Mm-hmm. So decide what you want to from that.
That's right.
But you don't know. You can't hear someone's story and really know what they should do. It's between that person, the Holy Spirit, our Creator, and their spouse. And that's it. So I'm just going to come alongside and support you. But I'm not going to coach you to stay in a marriage if you're being hurt and it's destructive. I'm going to coach you to do the things you need to take care of you. And I coach people right now. They're like, I'm staying. I'm like, okay, let's talk about boundaries today. They're like, I'm staying. I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you need to do to heal yourself in this way. I'm staying. Great. Let's talk about what you need to do to not get sucked into that vortex that suddenly you start feeling out of control and you're reactive in. So wherever you're at, I'm going to help you because I'm not the expert in your own life. And this is a tough topic. There is no answer. I can tell. I know we're wrapping up, but I will tell you, I was on a walk once when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting divorced. Hadn't told anyone yet. And I kept going on walks day after day thinking, I'm wrestling with God. I'm wrestling with God. And I'm like, God, but you hate divorce. But God, what about all this pain? But God, I know it's dead. But God. And then finally on one of my walks, I said out loud, wait a second. I'm not wrestling with you, God, am I? And he said, no, you're not. Now, I don't hear him very often, handful of times in my life. I heard that. No, you're not. And I was like, well, then if I'm not wrestling with you, I'm wrestling with me.
Mm-hmm.
And all my belief system, all the things I've heard from church, all the things from those books that might not stand up to the test that they do at the Bare Marriage podcast.
That's right.
All the stuff I heard the pastor say, or the person in my life group say, or I heard in a sermon when I was 16. It's just people talking and putting words into my belief system. And it's just me bathing in a culture.
That's right.
But what is true for me in my marriage is between me and God. And God, I can tell you God loves me. And I can tell you he's not disappointed in me for this decision. I know that in every fiber of my being. It was the hardest thing. The only other thing that was this hard was losing my sister. Two hardest things I've done in my entire life. And if you're going through something like this, Melissa doesn't have the answers for you. I don't have the answers for you. We know it's hard. And, get the support you need. Find someone to talk to. Learn what you can do to become healthier. If you like the way I talk about stuff, if you like this litmus test, is it true? Does it serve me? Does it honor God for any thought you have? That's the kind of stuff I talk about at the Renew Your Mind podcast all the time. Mm-hmm. And I've got over 250 episodes. You can just come and listen to them and be like, okay, I want to learn more. What is this like? I try to have all the thought ideas align with God's truth, but then open us up to possibility in ways we haven't thought about it before, so that we can get emotionally healthy, so we can get stronger, and we can show up and be the absolute best version of ourselves. All the DNA that God put in us, let it all percolate up and sparkle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were just telling that story, you were on a walk one night and you were wrestling with God. When you were telling that, there was a part of me that I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to say, I didn't know where the story was going, but I wanted to say, no, you weren't. No,
yeah, you saw
it. You were wrestling with every long-held belief. You were wrestling with every piece of man-made construct, right? In our religion and and what we think is right and what they told us in the marriage books. And when we went to the marriage seminars in the 80s and 90s, that's what you're fighting against. And I don't blame you. I would have fought that too. I would have wrestled with that so hard. But it all comes down to this sentence that you said. As much as he loves the institution of marriage, and oh, he does. He loves it so much. It's so beautiful. He even refers to the body of Christ as the bride. I mean, he loves that. But he loves me more. He loves Diana
Amen.
More. And
Amen.
He loves the woman that is listening to this with tears rolling down her face because she has done all that has been required. But there may be a day coming when she wakes up and possibly maybe it's dead. And I'm so glad, Diana, that you can look back and know you fought a good fight. You did. You fought a really great fight. And for a very long time, and you raised 4 beautiful kids who love their daddy. And
they do.
They sound like they love their daddy and they are for their dad. And that's really says a lot about you. But I really think that you've just shown us another side of God today. I don't know how it was possible. You came on here to talk to us about your divorce, but I just see another side of God that loves the marriage, but adores the woman and the man.
Yes. Yes.
So, thank you so much. I am so absolutely honored that you would let me in on the secret that has been yours for the last many years, and that you would let me even ask you questions about it, personal questions. And I just think it's so going to be so helpful to women. Don't you know that from...
I'm scared, but
I was going to say, don't you know that from here, there's so much work for you to do now for these women. There really is. I mean, Diana, you're going to have to write them books and you're going to have to teach them. I mean, they're going to come out of the woodwork, and God has prepared you for such a time as this.
Wow.
I'm glad it's you. I'm so glad it's you.
Wow. Thank God I have you in my life to speak into me. I need people like you. We all need people like this that, come alongside, because life is not easy. And I knew this would be a great conversation. It's even more than I ever imagined. I'm so grateful for you.
Well, I want to encourage anybody who is listening and you are considering coaching, if you want solid, faithful, even just the way Diana delivers. I know you all heard it today. The way she delivers, the way she speaks, it comes with much depth, my friends. It comes with much depth. We're going to literally put everywhere that you can find her in the show notes, but look her up on Renewed Mind. Is that it?
The Renew Your Mind podcast.
The Renew Your Mind podcast. Yeah. And go back and listen to those 250 episodes. They're so deep and so life-giving. And then find her there, find her in coaching, but follow her. Even her Instagram is life-giving. It really is. And so I'm so for you. I'm such a fan. Thank you so much for being on the Radke Show today. And I can't wait for your listeners to hear your story from your mouth. Thank you for letting me be a part.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching the Radke Show. We will be back to our regular insanity and our regular, what is this business that we do here? I don't even know. We'll be back to our regular program on Thursday. We love you all. Till next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Radke Show. We're going to end now so that you can go and love on your people. Till next time.